Okay, I'm going to go ahead and attempt to put this video together to talk a little bit about my journey to Orthodoxy. I'm doing this on my camera, so it's kind of goofy. So hopefully it'll work for you though. But anyway, here we go. First off, I guess the idea of talking about where the journey started and ended and all that stuff is quite extensive, but let me recap real quick. For years, as most of you know, I was a pastor, a Baptist pastor, and then we became a charismatic church. Over the course of time, we basically kind of merged into a vineyard type church, and then came under the covering of a group out of England that, for lack of a better way of putting it, ended up being kind of a controlling scenario. So in 1997, after just kind of being burned out and ready to look for something different, or at least to get some wisdom on whether or not I should, Laurel and I ended up leaving the ministry, and I became a financial advisor with Edward Jones. And then in 2004, we moved from Woodstock, Illinois, out to Prescott Valley, Arizona, where I became a financial advisor with Morgan Stanley. And then about 4 years ago, I started having a discussion with one of the guys at Morgan Stanley that was a staunch Roman Catholic. Now, I will tell you, I don't think he really lived his life for Christ as far as the way he behaved and stuff, but he really was strong on the issue of, well, you guys may be a Christian fellowship, but you're not the church. And as we started talking about that, and I, kind of debated back and forth and really tried to get him to see his need for a personal relationship with Christ, we, really just wrestled through a bunch of different issues, the papacy, things of that nature. And at one point in time, he said to me, well, could you ever see yourself being a Roman Catholic? And I said, absolutely not. However, I could see myself being an Orthodox Christian. And kind of just put that on the side and didn't think about it anymore. Meanwhile, I was an elder in a local Baptist church here in Prescott Valley, Arizona, and was, involved in a lot of different things, as you can imagine. But frankly, I was just very dissatisfied for the most part. I just didn't feel like there was really meaningfulness there. And as Michael, I know for sure, and perhaps Michael Ballantyne and Larry Paul can tell you, I used to always make statements like Jesus was more Eastern than he was Western. And I would make statements like he would look more like a guru if he were come today, as opposed to a pastor. And certainly more so than a televangelist or something ridiculous like that. So, but anyway, over the course of time, I started looking into some different meditation practices and stuff, quite frankly, because I was just really convinced that the Western church did not have a real spiritual sense of spiritual discipline, spiritual practices. And so I started investigating what's called Vipassana meditation, which is what they call a non-sectarian. In other words, a Buddhist, a Christian, a Muslim, anybody can practice it. It's really following the breath. Well, in 2009, I'd gotten to the point where, early 2009, where we would go to church and I'd come home and I'd say to Laurel, I'm not going anymore. And I just was very critical of what I saw taking place there. Didn't really feel like it was nurturing who I am, and was really taking a look at Eastern practices, was really open to saying, okay, I'm not leaving Christ, but I'm pretty well done with the church. And as I went through that process, I read a book called The Seven-Story Mountain by Thomas Merton. And in it, he talked about his spiritual journey to become a monk in the Roman Catholic Church. And I can't remember exactly which branch of the monasteries he was in, which order. But he kept talking about doing the comp lines, reading the hours, Mother Mary and the church and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, right, whatever. But in the course of that, all of a sudden I realized this guy has got something that I'm looking for. And what he had that I was looking for was, for lack of a better way of saying it, ritual, or the sense of sacredness, or, a spiritual practice. And it brought up those conversations that I'd had before, and I went and I started looking for the Orthodox Church. Lo and behold, I found that here in Prescott, the Orthodox Church was a mission church, and it had been going for a few years. I'd heard about it, but hadn't really done any investigation. I emailed the priest and I said, I would like to come and visit your church, but before I do, I have a couple questions about Mary. How do you treat her? Is she, I was concerned about what I would call being a co-savior. And he immediately responded and said, you asked some great questions. We honor Mary, we revere her, but we do not worship her. Jesus and Jesus alone is the Savior, and that there is no deviation from that. Rest assured, that's the reality. Let's get together for lunch and let's talk about this. So we arranged to get together, and he is about 5 years younger than me. Awesome guy, Father John Peck, and the journey started. Within a week or something like that, I went to a Vesper service on Wednesday night or Saturday night, I can't remember which, and came home and told Laurel, I said, it's weird, it's different, but I think I found what I'm looking for. And so she ended up going to the liturgy with me shortly thereafter, and was saying, well, I'll continue to go to the Baptist church and help out with the kids ministry, but I'll visit here with you once in a while, and that kind of thing. And of course I was not real thrilled with that, because we've always worshiped together. And so, by the way, I'm just noticing, I hope you enjoy the background here with the stuffed animals up in the corner and Marcus's plaques and ribbons over here. I'm in Maya's bedroom right now, so deal with it, okay? Anyway, so she's like, well, where's this going to go? Are you going to end up wanting to be a priest in the Orthodox Church? And I said, absolutely. I believe that I found what I'm looking for. Now, meanwhile, I'd read 2 or 3 books, because I was in between jobs, and I'd read 2 or 3 books on Orthodox spirituality, and guess what? Jesus is more Eastern than he is Western. Gotcha. Anyway, I was just blown away by the emphasis on Christ as the healer, on the emphasis of spiritual disciplines, fasting, what they call hesychastic prayer, which is prayer of silence, the Jesus prayer, several things like that that just absolutely spoke to my heart. And I can't say that's the way I believed, but I can say it certainly clarified what I believed. Well, over the course of the next few weeks, we're going once in a while, and all of a sudden Laurel comes home, and many of the women in the church wear a head covering. And basically she came home and said, look what I bought today. And I'm like, well, what's that? And she pulls out a headscarf. And I said, well, you're not Orthodox. And she said, well, I'm going to be. And I just kind of looked at her and I go, what's going on? And she said, well, you know what? I've been thinking about it and I've been praying about it. And the reality is that I've been praying that God would rejuvenate my faith and would reinvigorate me. And I really feel like this is the place. Now, we started in March of 2009 attending St. George Orthodox Church here in Prescott, Arizona. The following August, we were baptized and chrismated into the Orthodox Church. We did not have to be baptized because we were already baptized earlier in our lives, but we chose to do that because we felt like what we were entering into was so different that, it was just like we might as well go ahead and go for the whole enchilada. There's several different things that I found about the Orthodox Church that have been just literally amazing. One is the emphasis on as I said, Jesus is the healer. They don't have the same concept of original sin that we have in the Western Church. So, for example, in the Western Church, we believe Adam and Eve sinned, therefore we've sinned, we all are sinners. And we certainly believe that we are all sinners. However, the influence of Calvinism and other like doctrines have created what's called the total depravity of man, or the idea that there is nothing good in us. The Orthodox Church rejects that